Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. It's time to trust your intuition. This is your inner knowings. Through questions and points of conversation, I can help others feel empowered. With the ability to touch people's past lives, I help others connect and not feel alone. Sit with me and call in live, 888-994-4995. Hi everybody. I always seem to open the show the same way. It's only my 4th showing today. My name is Sally Barnard. You're wondering why? Please call me Zena. That's the name of my show. So when you guys call in, please call me Zena. Okay, we have a lot of people in the studio today, so I'm really happy. We're going to have a lot of questions that I'm going to be answering. So please give me a call. Okay, and I think we have some already. Okay.
We have Dawn on the line.
Hi, Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Okay, the question?
His name is Don.
Oh, Don. I'm sorry. Hi, Don. We have a question from you.
Hello. Yes, my sister died. I got an echo, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
She died Valentine's Day last year, and we were not on good terms. We were estranged. And I was wondering, does she know that I forgive her?
Absolutely. We hold no grudges on the other side. I believe you talk to her and you're asking for her forgiveness, but you have forgiven her. She's forgiven you. Whatever love you have between you, and I'm sure you did over the years, it stays with you. So just feel very comforted that our loved ones are around us all the time. They don't judge us. We sometimes go into judging them because we remember here what happened, but there is only love on the other side. So just be aware that whatever you're doing, you are loved. You are loved. So the forgiveness is definitely there. You're welcome.
That was my only question for today.
Okay, thank you very much for calling in. Okay, we have a few questions actually in the studio today. Would you like to ask me a question?
I have a question.
Okay.
A lot of people acquire jewelry as a present.
Okay.
That's been passed down from generation to generation. And, and artwork and so on and so forth. But I always wonder, does that hold the energy of generations? Does that, every experience that had, does that hold the vibrational frequency of the energy of that person forever, or can it be cleansed?
Actually, in answer to your question, and that's a really good question, because we all mostly have things from other people, even the places that it's been made, we have the energy upon that. Yes, we can get rid of that. If we feel, I'm an empath, so I can feel, but not everybody can do that. It's there, but we're just not aware of it. So in answer to the question, yes, we can get rid of it, especially with jewelry, because it's worn on somebody and it spends a lot of time on that particular person. And if they've gone through traumas in their life through that energy, it's still actually holding that energy. So what I actually recommend, and I think we had spoken a little earlier about this, is that you can cleanse it by putting, and I know this is sounding ridiculous, but I was told through my guide who was here, is if you get the jewelry, put it into earth for a couple of days. That will cleanse it. I know many people say different things, put it in salt, do this and that, but my way of, I really feel that I'm cleansing it is by putting it in even if you bring some earth into, like you would put in a plant or pot, just put it in there and leave it there for a couple of days. Take it out, rinse it, and then put foil around it. I actually do recommend that because we leave our imprints on jewelry, especially when it's been on someone, like a wedding ring or an engagement ring. It's been worn by that person and the imprints are there. I mean, they have had a beautifully happy life. That's also can happen, but you still want to cleanse it because it's not your life necessarily. Okay? Does that help you?
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, do we have any other questions right now? Yes.
Yes, yes I do. So I see there's some art behind you, and so I was just wondering, could you tell us, that's yours, right?
The paintings, yes, they're
Yes,
mine.
because I love drawing and I doodle a little bit, but you were telling me earlier that you don't actually, prior to doing all of this, you were not an artist.
Right. No, I'm happy to answer that question because I love actually telling my story. What happened, I have never been able to paint. This is just a sample of some of the artwork that I have, but how this came about was about 12 or 13 years ago. I had never drawn anything in my life, but one night I go to bed and I had a dream, so I thought, and I was actually told to start to paint. But being that I had never painted, I really didn't listen to that, but I did remember it. And then from then on, I started to actually sketch. I was on the phone one day and I was talking to someone and they put me on hold. And I'm you know how you're on hold and you can't be bothered and you're scribbling, and I'm scribbling, and which is in my book, my very few pieces of sketching. And I'm looking. It looked like a pig, actually, but it did look like an animal. So I'm looking at that, I'm going, oh my God, that looks like something. And then my dream came back to me that I was able to paint. And for the first maybe 2 or 3 months, I was sketching. But what I didn't know at the time, and they were looking like artwork, was I was sketching from a previous life, some of the things that I had seen in that previous life. And I was sketching drawings, I was sketching buildings, I was signs and symbols from a lifetime that I had been in. So now it's opening up my curiosity. And I'm suddenly doing all this, but I had a helper, which was my guide that I have mentioned a couple of times on the show, and it's the anniversary of his passing tomorrow, and I know he's with me right now and wanted me to be his mouthpiece, so I'm happy to share this. He was explaining to me what I was actually sketching, and he said, continue doing it. And he would often call me like 2, 3, 4 times in the evening to stop, because I couldn't stop, but I was sketching and sketching and sketching. And then he was explaining to me and showing me, because the internet today gives you so much. He said, just go in and you're going to see. I had not gone into the internet. I had no idea of that lifetime, but he was showing me some of the signs and symbols from that lifetime. So I became completely a believer at that point, because I knew what was happening to me. So, and on my story goes from there. That was the beginning of my journey. But thank you for that question. I like to show people that anything at this point, anything is possible. Right. It took me a long time to wake up to this, many, many years. I'm not that young anymore, and this was only 15 years ago, but it happened.
So that was my question as well. You know, more people have more psychic, I don't know, emotions or whatever, but how do you get to have that? You know, how do you get to that place?
Well, I think I was stubborn. I, as a child, actually had many stories that my parents were believers of this, but they never really talked about it that much. But they actually, I used to tell them as a child, would you please stop waking me up at night? It's really annoying. I'm waking up. They were not waking me up. So they called a psychic in at that point. They were open enough to be able to do that for me. But I was probably the one that was more stubborn. I said, I don't know, you are waking me up. They said, no. I believe at that point it was my mother's mother, who I had not met, but she was coming to me. And then from then onwards, I was open, but I never really knew exactly what was going on at that time until I suddenly started my artwork, and my guide from another lifetime actually came into my life, who was here in physicality. So I'm forever grateful to that. And it opened up my whole life changed. I became a completely different person overnight. I was actually in a hospital when this happened. I didn't know I was getting chest pains. There was nothing wrong with me. But when I came out the following day, I did not know it, but I was a completely, completely different person in every aspect. My art was just part of how I changed. Became an artist. And my life took a completely different turn.
I have a question for you, Sally, regarding pets.
Okay.
Our little furry favorites, so to speak. But you know, I've never not had a dog, and I feel like the dog I have right now is the dog I had when I was 5. I had her, it was a her the next time, and it is teeny, it's Sparky, and I prayed each time for the same dog to come back, and it's the 3rd time, and he's a bit of a pain, but I love him.
I am getting goosebumps, which is my way of saying, Okay, this is my favorite topic because my little dog passed about 5 or 6 years ago, and I believe she understood everything that my guide who was here and I talked about, because she would lay on her back like that. I also do believe that they have come to us in different lifetimes. This is just my belief, but she seemed to know so much. It was incredible. And then when I went back into one of my lifetimes that I was with Adamir, who was in my book, which he told me, I had a dog, and it was the same dog. It was a Cavalier, and my dog was a Cavalier. And today, she often comes to me, so I do believe that they do reincarnate. But, you know, there may be people out there saying, no, they don't. But why? I believe we reincarnate, so we reincarnate. So why should animals be any different? They come to help us. I truly believe that too. We're going through a stressful time or an illness. Very often also, if you are going through an illness, that dog will take on that illness and actually have the same problem. I've heard that many times too.
So this is the second part, and getting all teared up. 'cause
Sure,
it's
me
near and
too.
dear.
I am too.
My sister had breast cancer.
Okay.
And stage 4, very bad. She's okay now. She's 10 years free. And she was never a dog person. And the dog lay with her every day. And she got better. And the dog shortly afterwards died of cancer. And she knows the dog took her cancer.
There
There's
are
a picture
angels
of it. And
They are our angels here.
Never
I've
left
heard
her
that
side,
before.
you know,
and in
and,
fact, I even just said that to you. Yes,
Yeah.
I do believe that. They come here to help us. I mean, again, I can't give proof. I can only tell you what I've experienced. And when my little Sabrina, her name was, passed away, it was devastating. But I know they're in a better place, just as our family and friends are too, and they're happy. And she's given me signs, many signs.
the signs are there.
actually.
That's
Yes,
the thing. And I
yes.
know that Teddy is teeny, you know?
Yeah. But it touches people that are animal lovers. It really touches us,
Yeah,
and
it's our
that's what they're
babies.
here to do, to touch
Yeah.
us. So obviously we're upset when they pass.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Sally, we've known each other for many, many years.
Yes, I was just going. This is Margaret, a friend of mine, who was completely unaware that she'd be sitting in the chair next to me today. But that's okay. We're making her
still
very
in shock.
We're making her very comfortable. She has been through many, many different experiences with me. When this first started happening, and I'm giving you all sorts of messages, not only was she surprised, I was also very, very surprised that I was able to do this. But they became very accurate, and there was no way that we could deny this. So you have a. Do you want me to?
I think the one with my friend Jim
Okay. Yeah.
is a good start.
Yes, it certainly is. Okay, shall I do the introduction to
Yes.
that? Okay, I was staying with Margaret. I was in the process of selling. I just sold my house, and instead of me going to a hotel, Margaret was nice enough to put me up in her house. And I'm sitting there one night. We come home. Well, actually, we'd just come home from dinner, and she gets a phone call on her answering. Was it a phone call or on your? I'm forgetting myself.
On the answering machine.
On the answering machine, saying that a very, very good friend of hers had just passed away. It's not a great way to hear a message, so obviously she was really, really upset about this. And I'm sitting there. I had met Jim, his name was, one time, but I wasn't that close to him like you were. So I said, just hold hands, we're going to light a candle, and we need to send him to the light, because he had just passed away a couple of hours ago. And we sat there, and Margaret obviously was crying her heart out. So I said, I need to go into the room that I had been staying in. I said, there's something in there, I need to get up and just leave you for a minute. She continued to cry, obviously, and I know that you're tearing up now, and I'm so sorry, but I think this is a story that has a very happy ending, right? I go into the room that I had been sleeping in. I had not disturbed anything other in that closet other than where I had hung my personal clothes up. But suddenly something led me to put my hand up high on a shelf. And I picked up something. I didn't even know what I was picking up. And it was like a poster. At that point, I had no idea. I take it into the kitchen where you were sitting. Oh, I'm so sorry, Margaret.
It's okay. It's okay.
And I said to her, does this mean anything to you? And she said, oh my gosh, yes, correct. The poster, and I'll explain to you what it was in a moment. She said that was the very last thing that her friend Jim had given her. And I looked at the poster that had been sitting there, and I'd been sleeping in that room. It was the picture of the towers
the
coming
Twin
down
Towers.
with all the spirits coming down. And I said, you know what? It's sad, but oh my gosh, what a validation
Yeah.
from turning. And Margaret is crying now. I know that.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, that's all right. I'm tearing up too. But he was able to show us that he was here, that even the souls that had passed on 9/11, it's okay. We hurt, but after that happened, the validation from that is they want to tell us that they're all right. That hurt we will do because we're in physicality here, but they were around us. And what a message that Jim was able shortly, so soon after his passing, Margaret.
Yes.
And please don't cry, because I'm going to cry. Okay, but the validation that Margaret is my friend after 30 years, we were suddenly, and you didn't believe all this in the beginning, and I
No,
know
no,
that,
no,
and
no.
she was very scared, right? But today, what are you today?
I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, so anybody that's just lost anyone, and it's sad. I just lost, as I had mentioned on other shows, my daughter passed July 1st, and I'm devastated. But I'm hearing there are messages that they are able to give us, and they try our best. If you can just be open to this, you will see amazing things happen. Thank you.
And
I have a question that, for me, I see numbers.
Okay.
And I'll go get something, I'll pay for 5 things in a row, and I'll see the same repeating numbers over and over and over. And I've read somewhere that these are your angel numbers and that the angels are trying to communicate with you that way. Do you know anything about that?
I absolutely do, because this is what a very dear topic to me, because for years, and today a lot of people do know about 11. I see 1111, but it's no different. I'm not taking away from the numbers you see, but personally, I see 1111. And my journey really started when I first started to see these numbers. I had no idea. Wherever I was looking, it was 1111, 1111, and it was driving me nuts. I would sit up, I'd be asleep. I'd wake up and actually sit up in bed, and it said 1111. Well, at that particular time, my girlfriend, who I was really friendly with, she said the same thing to me. She said, I keep seeing 1111. So now I'm really curious. So in answer to the question, yes, they do have names. I won't go into the whole story of how I found that out, but there is a whole book on 1111. So, and 444, and this is what you see, right? I believe that from what I've read afterwards, because I did do research on 1111, I wanted to know that I believe that's an angel number. 1111 to me was my beginning of my journey, and they were showing me that I was able to start on my journey. This was many years ago. But I think they have a great significance in our life. Take note if you see numbers that reoccur. It's not just 44, there's, I believe, 22, 22. There are many numbers. If you continually see them, do a little research on them, and you'll see the messages behind that. And then I could go through it, but we don't really have the time necessarily on this program. But it's comforting just to know that they are around us.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. That was a good question. Mindy? Oh, hi, Mindy. Is it the Mindy I know? Is she saying yes?
there.
No. Hello? Hi.
Hello?
Hi, Mindy?
Can you hear me?
Hi, Mindy. Yes, I know
Yes.
you. Hi. Yes, here I am.
Hi.
Hi.
I hear you a little low.
You hear a little low? Can you
Do you hear me
now?
okay?
I can hear you perfectly, Mindy. Who's had a very, by the way, my
Okay.
girlfriend Mindy has had a very similar experience to me, so I love hearing you on the phone. Your question.
Yes. Unfortunately, I'm driving.
Okay, be careful.
And I didn't hear anything. No, I'm okay. I'm not holding the phone. But I
Okay.
didn't hear anything so far. But what I wanted to ask you was, do you feel the need now that you're back, and this is a true question I'm asking
Okay.
to myself too, to continue to do practices to keep you in that feeling, in that energy of spirit?
Do I feel the need to continue with my journey, are you saying?
In
Do I-
other words, not with your journey,
Okay.
but to reinvigorate the feeling, the energy.
Absolutely.
Do you have to meditate or take
Oh.
classes? That's what I want to know.
I personally don't, Mindy, but as you know, certain people do. I just truly, and even with my show today, I believe that as soon as I talk, and this is not with everybody, okay, I meditate, but in a different type of way. I believe the moment I'm asked a question, just as you're doing, and as my people here in the studio have been asking me questions, my collective comes in and I hear them right away. So I'm doing this a lot, so I am working with them, and I have been doing this for many years, actually. But I think they're aware and they're able to, I hear them. So I would not stop this, but I'm not doing anything that I would say do to get them to come. Just believe and listen, as you know, and you're able to do this too. So I know that.
Yeah.
So to me,
So you just tap in.
I tap in immediately. But the strange thing about this, and I was telling people here in the studio, I need the question for some reason. I can ask the question to them, but that sounds weird. So it's better that somebody asks me the question and I can channel them. They come through immediately with my collective, and they'll always say if it's a complicated one, because it's not really me talking, I'm channeling them, they'll always say, does that make sense? So I know right away that that's my collective, because I will actually say, does that make sense? But that's a good question. Now, I'm not saying everybody should do that. Yeah, and you do the same. So thank you for the question, Mindy.
Yes.
Be careful driving,
Of
please.
course.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to ask me anything else, or do you want to concentrate on the road
Well,
here?
do you, wait, did you hear that? Do you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. You may not be able to hear me that well.
Oh, okay.
But I hear you perfectly.
No, because it said your entry is not valid.
No,
so
no,
if
it's
I
not.
was to ask you a question now, I don't have to now, but I mean, any question at all is accessible to you?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. I mean, most of the time I can answer it, but there might be a time that I'll say, I mean, I'm obviously very honest about this. I'll say I have no idea. But that doesn't happen that much because I rely on my collective and they give me the answers. That's how we met. We met that way, Mindy. That's quite a story
Amazing.
too. Shall we tell the story?
Yes.
Okay. This is a
Sure,
great
you
story.
can.
I do it now, or you want to, or I would like you to be
Yes,
listening. This was an
no,
amazing story how I met my friend Mindy.
I know.
I'm pretty loyal. Mindy's a hairdresser, and I'm very, very loyal to hairdressers, and I stay with them. I stay there, as you can vouch for. You know that. I had been with a hairdresser for many, many years. I'm driving along, going to the hairdresser that I'd always been to, and a little voice in my head said, no, don't go there. And I'm going, what the heck? I'm nearly pulling up to have my hair done. No, don't go there. So I listened, but I didn't know what I was listening to. I drive, and I'm driving, and I see another hairdressing shop. I said, well, maybe I'll go in there. No, don't go in there. So now I'm getting really confused. So I said, well, where in the world am I meant to go and have my hair done? I need my hair done. Well, to cut this story a little short, I got a message to go to your hairdresser where you were at that time. I had no idea. It wasn't near my house. It was like about 20 minutes away. And I'm driving, and I'm driving. I had the name of the hairdressing shop because I booked to make the appointment, and I felt that I'm doing the right thing by booking at that particular place. So I get there, and I'm in a place I've never been. I go, and I sit down in Mindy's station, correct, Mindy? And I think the first thing that you said...
First you were in the waiting area.
I was in the waiting area.
When I met you.
Oh, you were? Okay. And then I walked over to your station. I sat in the chair, and Mindy said to me, you're an artist. And I said, how do you know I'm an artist? And she said, because I do. And then we continued to talk, and my story and your story about leaving your body and and you'd written a book was exactly the same as mine. Oh my God, me too. But you whispered in my ear, and you said, there's 3 more of us in here like that. Do you remember saying that? And I said, oh my
Yep,
goodness me.
yep.
So we have been friends, needless to say, for many years now. Okay. Okay. And you are the best
And look how
hairdresser.
good your
Okay.
hair
Yeah,
looks.
it looks beautiful. Okay. And I'm seeing you on Thursday. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Mindy,
Yes,
for
I
calling.
look
And I'll
forward
see you
to it.
Thursday, love. All right.
Thank you,
Okay.
Sally.
Thank you, Mindy.
Talk
Bye.
to you later.
Bye.
Enjoy.
Bye. And you too.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Lori, I think it's a gentleman.
Okay. Hi, Laurie. And your question is? That was a difficult one to follow.
You talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you. Laurie, is that correct? What is your name? sir?
Lori.
Laurie. I'm sorry, I may be mispronouncing.
Lori.
Okay, Laurie. And your question?
Give you a question? I don't know. I've never done this before.
Well, I'm new at it too, okay? This is only my third or fourth show, so please just give me the question. And we'll see what happens. I rely on my collective.
I'm trying to look into my future.
Okay, now that's a deep question here. Okay.
I know Rory well, but I know him. And,
Oh, okay.
the question I have for you is that Rory met me
Rory.
because he had an overwhelming urge to meet me for some reason, and then we have a lot of synchronicities.
Okay.
So maybe that is the question that he wants to ask.
Okay. Okay. The question is, it's a good question because I have the same with my fiance at this point. The synchronicity, a lot of things are synchronicity. I don't believe in coincidences. Okay. But I think it's leading you to something. It leads you to give you a type of validation that sometimes we need. I mean, I've been doing this for quite a while now and I get a lot of messages, but I often think, am I really able to do this? But what happens as we get these questions asked, and the synchronicity is validation, they are around you. Also, it's also validation for yourself, because if you stop and you listen and you hear, you know that you're hearing them. So I think that's totally, if you ask yourself a question, I mean, maybe do it on your own, not with a lot of people around you. But when I do recommend that. That's a disclaimer. I usually do it on my own. Okay. But ask the question and just hear and listen. Many people have different ways of hearing this. I also write prose, so I've had given art, which comes in a different way. We all have our individual talents. But if you listen and you listen to the first thing that, let's say, comes into your mind, it's usually, not always, but usually the correct answer. There are variations of that. It may not necessarily be the correct, but if it rings true to you when you ask that question, go with it.
Yeah, and like more so, like if you have an urge to do something like you did with the salon, I think that's the same
Yeah,
thing.
that was
And you feel
amazing.
like there's some reason and you don't know why, but it feels like if you didn't do that at that moment, it was something that passed by that would have been important at the time.
Well, I was really into this at that point. That's why I listened, not to go to that hairdresser, as Mindy will tell you. I was led to a totally different place. I didn't even know where it was. But today we have a great friendship. She had a very, very similar experience to me, and we were able to share a lot of our stories because I did listen. I'm sure there are many times especially when I was younger, I didn't. But today I know a little better to do that. My hair came out beautifully, by the way. Otherwise, I'd be very upset, but it was okay. If you were listening to the program too earlier. So that worked good for me. And it's not just me. I mean, it happens to us. That's why I'm hopefully through the show, many people will call in and listen and may be able to do the same thing. I'm not special. I just listened. But it took me a long time to listen, but I listened.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help you?
I've had a lot of synchronicity type of things in my life.
Okay.
So it happens a lot.
Well, I woke up to this because when I started documenting in my book, which is called Mizina, I was going back into my childhood a little bit and later on, and I didn't realize how many things that I thought were coincidence, because it got me taking me not only my journey of what was happening to me through my earlier years in life, realizing that some of these things that I was remembering were not coincidence because it was part of my journey. But I was pretty stubborn. It took my artwork and my guide showing up to tell me later on in my life But a lot of the things that I was looking at were quite incredible. There had to be, in my mind, something more. And the synchronicity is actually sometimes a good way of understanding that, because you'll see that, and it doesn't just happen once, it reoccurs. So that is more validation that something is happening around us. That's a little bit more than just here, sitting here. That's my point of view, and I see it very clearly today. Thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate your question. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You have another call.
Okay.
Jill,
Hi, Jill.
and you have a comment that they're going to be writing in also.
Okay. I look forward to...
Hello.
Hi. Hello. How can I
Hi,
answer?
this is. Okay, what do you get from me in the love department? If you get something else, go ahead and do that.
Okay. I'm feeling something, but what I'm feeling is there is someone around you. However, at the moment, you're not putting very much importance into this. I don't know the name of the person, and actually, even if I did, I don't know if I would mention it, because I think it's more of right now it's something. See, I believe in soul contracts. So there's somebody around you that you have. Does that make sense to you a little bit? That you have a soul contract with. And there is somebody around you. You have met this I think you've met this particular person who, again, we have to fulfill that, but again, we have free will here. Just be aware of who is around you, who you feel that you might find a slight connection with right now. But I think if you pursue it, and I know it's a really open-ended question, that you will find that this will be a little bit more than just a friend. Does that make sense to you right now? Does that help you a little bit? Or?
Yeah, so
Good.
there is potential out there for me.
Oh, yeah, I think we all have potential. But, timing is important too. And don't look too hard, because sometimes that will disrupt it a little bit. But just be aware of who might be around you now that's paying you a little more attention than maybe just being a friend. And I think you may find that might be the person. Sorry to be a little bit vague, but I think I'm not really even meant to give you a name for some reason. It's something that you're going to sort out yourself. And it could be tomorrow, it could be a year from now. But be aware, okay? Yes, there is somebody for you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you.
And you too.
Gino writes in, he was going to ask if you believe in coincidences. As a former police detective, as a rule, we don't believe in coincidences.
Great question, Gino. Hello. Okay. And being that you were a policeman at one point, no, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe, as we were talking about, the synchronicity of things. So in answer to the question, no, there are no coincidences, but it's hard to explain that, because people will say, well, it's to open up our world. This is a different world here that I'm talking about. So when we decide to begin our journey, the synchronicities turn more into turn more into synchronicity. And as we open up more and we go along this path, we'll begin to see that. It does not happen overnight, but as I did, I went back into my childhood, and later on, I was not aware of some of the amazing things that happened to me, but I still thought it was coincidence. Today, if you ask me that, I'm going to say no, there are no coincidences. Even if we meet someone for an hour or 2 hours, that person somewhere is meant to be in our life, be it a word they say, be it a message that they give us, be it anything, but it's not a coincidence. Does that answer your question?
He wrote in.
Oh, he wrote in. I'm sorry. Well, thank you for writing in. Thank you. Okay. So hopefully that did answer the question. Thank you.
I have a question. So you've mentioned quite a few times about past life.
Okay.
And I'd like to know
know of past lives you
Well,
might have
I do definitely
experienced?
believe, I'm a 100% believer in past lives. However, I was not always that way. This happened to me maybe for the last 20 years. And little things that we feel like a deja vu or something that pertains to something like that, that we feel that we've been there, because it's not always where we are. It could be on the other side of the world that we were in another life. But you feel a slight connection. And that opened the possibility of me thinking maybe there was more. In fact, I started to read Out on a Limb with Shirley MacLaine many, many years ago, and that had such an impact. Here was someone who was really well known that was now bringing out previous lives. So I'm thinking, if she's coming out with this, she must truly believe this. So I began to look a little bit more. I met, again, it's Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. I started to read that. And I'm thinking there has to be more to this. And as I went on, I became much more open to previous lifetimes, because I believe we've had many, many previous lifetimes. Now, when all this happened to me, that I start to paint and draw, when I'm sketching, my guide here, Aldo, was explaining to me that I was drawing from the lifetime in the 15th, 16th century, that I was in that lifetime with him. I'm drawing the signs and symbols of something that I've never seen in this life. I wasn't so much getting pictures of things. I'm just drawing the symbols and buildings and castles from a lifetime that I had no idea that I was in. But because my guide here was here, and that's what he was here to guide me, he then started to explain a little bit. He didn't tell me, however, who I was in that lifetime. Later on, as I continued with my sketching, little things, memories, my memory started to open up into that lifetime. I was describing the living room of where I was, the kitchen. But because he had been in that lifetime with me, he told me I was completely accurate. I then did research because I knew somehow the date. And I saw the signs and the symbols. I had never, ever looked on the internet with something like that. But because the internet is open now, we can do research. And I'm seeing my drawings on the internet. So I can't dispute that. We have been back, for me, many, many times. Do I expect everybody to believe that? No. We all have our own choice with that. I do. I'm a complete believer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My friend Merrill just asked a question, and he wants to know what his future holds for him.
Okay, that's really open-ended.
I told him to buy a box of cereal and look
I'm
inside.
not even hearing his voice, but it's okay. What is his future hold?
Yeah.
That, I'm as I like to be accurate, and I like to, but that's
He's
I'm
very
feeling a
big.
vibrational energy which is coming through you, so that does help. But your future is your future, and again, we're open to change. We can, all right, let me put this. If you believe this, which I truly do, we make our own future. If we want something, I'm not saying like a spoiled child, I want this and I want that. However, it does work that way, good and bad. So my answer to his question, is that a guy? Yeah. My answer is, put out what you want. That will be your future. Please make it positive. Because if you put something negative there, guess what? That negativity, it knows no difference. It will bring you the negativity. We are what we are. We are our words. We are our speech. You know the saying, we are what we eat. We are also what we eat. So my answer is, your future is whatever you want it to be.
I agree 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling.
So I have a question. So, you speak of those that have come and gone. I remember when my dad died, I really, really wanted him to come back and just say, either apologize or tell me where the gold bar is in my backyard,
You and a
things
million
like
other
that.
people, right?
I really was hoping he would at least say that, because it cost us so much money to go over there and everything like that. But I didn't hear anything. How do people, I asked that question already. How are some people more psychic, more attuned to those that have passed beyond the veil or whatever? And what does that mean? If I don't get these psychic powers, you could say, does that mean I'm less spiritual?
No,
Or
no.
what is, and how do you get to that place so that you can actually have that connection?
Be
in your
aware.
life?
No, I believe everybody is psychic. I'm not special. I can do this because, and I didn't for a long, long time because I blocked it. But if you open up to what is around you, pay, especially if you're interested in this, it's easier for them, just like for us to get hold of them. It's easier for them to get hold of us. If we're open, we look for little signs. I mean, this has happened. You might put something on a table, and then you'll get up, walk around, and suddenly, and this really has happened, it's in a completely different place. I know I put that there. However, they can do that. It doesn't happen all the time. But just these little things makes you just say, I know that was there. I wanted to hear, say, from your dad. Could that possibly, I'm not saying it would be him or anything, but just know that they are trying to contact us. Especially if you've had, like, you've left without the goodbyes, or there's been a friction there of some kind. They don't hold that grudge. We try not to because they've passed, but we do remember a lot of the things that have happened. They just try to remember the good times, which is good for everybody. It's not easy. I know it's not easy, but hold the love there. A lot to do with this is love. And they don't judge, as far as I know. I mean, they still might hold a little bit, well, she did this, but basically it's love on the other side. But there are different dimensions too. So what we know here, we carry with us when we go. We don't automatically love everybody. We don't love everybody here. But they're also in a learning process. But they're aware of us. We're not aware that they are there. But that love holds true. So look for little signs, little things that are not coincidence, that are the synchronicity that we're looking for. It's there. It's there all around us. We just need to pay attention to it. Not easy, but it works. Thank you for that question.
What do the synchronicities mean, or the coincidences?
How do we read the messages of them?
Well, I can talk for me what actually happened with what I thought were coincidences. But when I started to go back, I was led to, in fact, I'll give you a story, which is actually in my book, that will show you that even at that time I was stubborn, thinking it was coincidence. I had a friend, as I am from London, came over to visit me. I'm talking to him, and he was an avid, he played bridge a lot. I didn't know anybody here at that point. I didn't know that many people that played bridge. But I'm sitting on the beach, and this gentleman is talking to me, saying he wishes he could find a bridge game that evening. I said, well, I'm sorry, because I don't know anybody here that plays bridge. But there was an English lady, again an English lady, was sitting very close to us. Coincidence? No. She comes over and she said, I heard your friend talking about he wanting a game of bridge. And I said, yes. And she introduced herself and I introduced myself. She said, well, this is really not a, I don't know, but she said, she didn't say the word coincidence actually. She said to me, I have some friends who lived in Palm Beach that have a bridge game tonight in their home, and they're actually looking for somebody else. So I spoke to my friend Bob and I said, well, this is strange. They want someone to play bridge. Would you like to go? And of course his reaction was, absolutely, I'd love to go. So we exchanged telephone numbers. The lady called her friends and said, we have some English people sitting here on the beach. Can they come over? He plays bridge. So they said, absolutely, yes. So that evening, I hadn't been in this country that long actually. We drive to their condo in Palm Beach, and we introduced ourselves, and they were delighted to see us, and we got to talk. And as we were talking, they mentioned a place that I lived in London. And she said, do you know? I said, well, that's where I lived. I mentioned where I lived, and she said, well, my sister used to live there. So I said, oh, well, it's a big street, but that was strange, so I thought. So she said to me, my sister has passed on, but she was engaged to somebody who lived on the street that we were talking about. Well, I can mention it was Portland Place. So I said, well, my father lived on that street. Now, he had passed and her sister had passed. Well, what happened next? Even today, it gives me goosebumps. She said, what was your father's name? And I can mention it. I said, my father's name was Cyril. She said to me, my sister was engaged to your father. They are both passed on. she said to me, "Oh my gosh, you're Sally." How in the world do you explain that? That is 100% accurate. Well, Bob, who was with me, had known my father very well, actually. He fell off the chair nearly. I said, "I don't even know if I can stay here. This is incredible." And that could have been passed off as complete coincidence. How could that be? That's in my book. And that to me was really up there with synchronicity and coincidences. So that's the difference. It was. I have had many like that, as you can vouch for. Margaret, my friend sitting here, can tell you that.
Margaret, do you connect with your past lives?
No, I'm not. No, I can honestly say no.
But you're a believer.
Yes, I'm a believer, and I'm fascinated, and I always have been with Sally. And the things that's happened in the beginning, I used to be amazed. But over the years, I thought, oh, that's okay, Sally. She remembered, you know, she, whatever. So what we've got together is growing up together, going through this, and everything that we've ever done. We were in the casino one night.
I didn't know what she was going to say. We don't go there that often.
We don't go there often, no.
Oh my God, Margaret, we went for dinner. Okay.
Yeah, well, we have dinner too. Yeah. But anyway, we were in there, and we went to leave, and it's there's a doorway, and it was crowded with people, and it was pouring with rain. I mean, pouring. Nobody wanted to move. So we were standing there. All of a sudden, one of us, I don't even remember which one, I think it was you, said, "We need an umbrella." With that, the doors opened. This guy came running in from the wet and gave us an umbrella.
With about 30 people standing there, he hands it to us. But the end of the story, do you remember what happened? I said, "How?" You said to me, "How did that happen?" We get the umbrella. Everyone is looking at us. So how are they able to get the umbrella?
Yeah.
We walked to the car, and what happened?
The
umbrella blew away. That was just one story out of many, right?
Oh my goodness.
Very interesting story. If you don't mind me sharing.
No, of course not.
My sister is much like yourself, very intuitive, beautiful, beautiful person. And she did a guided meditation with me and my 4 sisters, okay? So she did the whole thing, and you're walking up a mountain, you go to a closet, pick out what you want to wear. All of us ended up in the same room. And we were all, like, it was the speakeasy downstairs in Chicago, I remember it. And I was wearing a red sequins dress, and I was an entertainer at a piano. And my sister was like sort of like the swingers type of stuff. And my middle sister she said, I don't know, I had this dress like Mrs. Doubtfire, and everyone she kept on giving me their kids to take care of. So we were all at this party together in our meditation. And when we shared it, we couldn't believe, like, that was you. We seen each other.
I totally understand that.
It was so insane. And we're like, what? I'm like, of course I was the one in the red. But it was just amazing.
I've had similar through my traveling, because I astral projected. I was out of my body 3 times a week for nearly a year. That's how stubborn I was to get these messages. They sent me every other day. But I had a place, it was, I thought, my secret place that I would go to. I never mentioned this. And I'm talking to someone who actually became my friend, and he said to me he knew the place. He was there too. How does that happen? It does. It happens. It does. He explained the place that I would go to, and he told me even what was on the floor. So it's
good stuff.
It's all good stuff.
So
There's
how
nothing,
do you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go
no,
on.
go ahead. Please do.
I was just going to say. So how do you get to understand what your past life is to help you in the present where you're at today?
Okay, that's actually really important, because I do believe, and I had my guide here, he materialized here, actually, in physicality, but I truly believe we've had many lives, but the ones that really are important in our lives, if we believe this, will show themselves. I mean, we're here, and we're here to live this life. I do not want to take that away from anyone, so we don't want to go all over the place. But if we're here and we need messages of things that may have happened in a significant life of ours, we will get that message somehow. They will try hard, or us. We have a higher self, And that will try to tell you, well, you're going through something very similar in this life and we will jump to that life that you maybe solved the problem or maybe didn't, but it will show itself. But the key to this is you really need to listen, because we all can do this. We just don't know we can do it. And we go through another lifetime and another lifetime never being aware that we can do it. So the good thing is that we're becoming aware of it today.
I got one.
Oh, good.
Things that happen today that remind you of things that happened in the past, are those signs about what's going to happen in the future if you pay attention?
Usually, yes, Freddie. I do believe they are, because anything that we see is not insignificant. It's significant. Now, obviously, some of our things that we see may not be that important, but I think take note of that, because we can go into, as we can go into the past, we can go into the future, which is really important too, because if we can learn from something from a previous life and bring it into this one, because I think those are the only messages really that we really need to listen to, that we won't, so to speak, make that same mistake again. We will listen and continue on the journey from that lifetime and correct it in this lifetime. I have a different view on karma, because we have free will. So if we've done something in another lifetime, we don't necessarily have to repeat it. That's our choice. Do you have another question? Or that's it. Thank you for asking that, because that's also very helpful to our viewers. If you see things, listen. Okay.
I had a really quick question.
That's okay.
So you mentioned you have a fiance, and you also mentioned soul contracts. With him being your fiance now, do you already have a soul contract with him?
Well, I've known him 22 years, but we really were not a couple. It's only the last 6 months. I totally believe that we have a soul contract. He couldn't understand what was happening to me in the beginning. He says, well, this is not who I knew all those years back. However, he is a big believer today. And I'm finding out now through what we're doing in another lifetime together, not from that long ago. We were in our last lifetime, our last lives together, because we have not coincidences, synchronicities. I mean, he's beginning to be able to even tell me what I'm thinking as I can with him. So can that be coincidence that I've met someone that I truly am in love with today? Although I knew him 22 years ago, I didn't know it then. Timing is important. Although there's no timing, timing is important. Right. So in answer to that, yeah, he is a believer of what I do today. So if someone had said to me, do you think you're going to get married again? I would have said, not a clue. Wouldn't have known. But anyway, thank you. Thank you for that. I think we're out of time. Oh, okay.
Oh, can I?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, no. So
Yeah.
in just following up with that, so what if you're in a relationship, marriage or whatever, and, you see the past, you have these psychic powers and stuff, but your partner doesn't. Do you think it's possible for them to come into that realm that you're in?
Well, it totally has happened, because
Right.
it's very difficult for me to be around somebody because it's not because I judge them because they don't believe, but my whole life is in believing this. So I had to have someone in my life that believes in me and this can happen. But I can honestly say, he's not sitting here, but he will be on some shows, that he was not a believer. Today he's 100% believer, because things are happening to him that are unexplainable, quote, that he would have thought of last year. But today he understands this, and he can't wait for the next thing to happen today.
Do you think you helped him along that path?
Well,
then?
I opened up his everything that is happening to him. I can't tell you that. I mean, it may have happened without me. He'll tell you that I did, but I don't want to give myself that much power. But yes, he has today a lot of curiosity, and he believes, because he believes in what has happened to me. He sees my artwork and he says, you never painted? No, I never painted. How does this happen? And again, it's not me. It's there. It's for all of us that want to believe this. And I think that's the best way to end this, because just to know that there is hope out there, our loved ones try to contact us, just listen, which I say pros in my my book, which I had no idea what I was writing, but there is one where they say, listen to your surroundings. I don't even remember what I wrote, but it's in my book. So if you just do that, it's so very important. If you want to follow this path, I have no choice. I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. But it's not everybody in this lifetime that wants to continue with that, on that path. Maybe next lifetime. For me, it was this lifetime.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you everybody for listening. I love your questions, and please tune in next Monday at the same time, 3 o'clock. I'm happy to answer your questions. I will be here. Thank you. Namaste. Coincidence or not, it's time to trust your intuition and knowings. Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book, artwork, and contact through artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week. This has been Call Me Zena.